unmute my microphone. That's good. And we are live in less than a minute now. Simon Abbott says, just worked out what that logo is on your MacPack. Right. We are now live on YouTube. We're also live on Instagram today. I just thought I'd do a little experiment because obviously YouTube is a new channel for me. I'm not used to broadcasting on it, but it's a really useful one. But I thought let's bang it on Instagram as well so that people on Instagram will get an idea of what we're doing. We do have 2 Newfoundlands who are whinging at the door, but today, welcome. This is Forest Skills lesson 11 now, which is extraordinary, isn't it? We've done 11 of these live lessons. Ideally, they're for people in lockdown who've got kids who want to take part in activities that I'm doing inside but hopefully will drag you all outdoors. They are things like making a compass out of a needle and a leaf, which we did in lesson 2, I think, making bannock bread, we've done cooking, Stephen Hanton is doing Mondays, I'm doing Wednesdays and Fridays, and we're here every day, Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays at 10 o'clock. So today what are we going to be learning? We're going to be learning the fire roll. Now the fire roll is something that I've never done before and I just thought what is the point of doing something live that you're an absolute master of, because then nothing's going to go wrong. So we're going to attempt something. If you want to take part in this, then you're going to need a cotton wool ball, and if you've got cotton wool that's synthetic, this may not work. So you need 100% cotton. So you just need a little cotton wool ball. You need wood ash, ideally, and you're not going to need very much of this, but if you've got a wood burning stove, go and get you need about half a teaspoon, literally, that's all you're going to need. And you're going to need a couple of planks of wood like this. And it doesn't, obviously this isn't using lots of natural materials, but this is the technique which is the easiest to learn. So we're going to light a fire using those 3 items: cotton wool, wood ash, and 2 planks like this. I'm actually going to use 1 plank and the table, but for the sake of the materials that you need officially, it's 2 planks like this. I'm going to give you a little bit of time to go away and get those things, and while you are, I'm going to do some shout outs from the YouTube. Greetings from Brighton, that's from Gary. Preacher Bear is joining in again this morning. Hi from Cornwall, that's from Tom and Caroline. Jez says, good morning, Ed. Theo from Newark is ready to go again. Nice one. Hello, Theo. Simon Abbott says, hi, Ed and Stephen. These videos are great for kids. Nice one, mate. Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate that. And you've worked out what logo it was on my MacPack down in the cellar, which was the Stafford knot. Jez Knowles, morning again. Preacher. I don't know about Preacher. Oh, that was talking to Preacher Bear. You're not calling me Preacher. I thought I was preaching a bit there. I thought, well, I'll have to tone down the moral lessons. The Riddler says, morning again. Can't wait for today's lesson. Woodland Project and Mr. Sweet. Hi guys, how you doing? Hello from North Germany. That's Wald's Craft Outdoors. Let's do a couple from Instagram. Hi Ed, loving First Man Out Season 2, nice one. Hi from Istanbul. Hello to everyone in Turkey. Hello everyone. If you're in Turkey, you're likely to be awake on Instagram. If you're in Brazil, probably you're fast asleep. And if you're not fast asleep, why not, is what I say. Lots of nice messages coming on Instagram. If you want the perfectly framed version of this, guys, on Instagram, then please jump over to the YouTube channel, Online Bushcraft, link in bio. Hopefully then, you've got, what else are we going to cover in the lesson? On Wednesday, I did a little demonstration with a hand drill. This is quite a complex thing. It's harder than the bow drill. As I said, it's got less mechanical advantages to it because it doesn't have a bow. So the thing that's going to have to do the hard work is your hands. So I'm going to try and break this down as much as possible and give you some little tips and tricks in order to learn this, because isn't that cool? You know, you walk into the woods, maybe you've got a lighter, but it gets wet and you think, oh, I can't light a fire. You can, 2 bits of wood, and that's all you need to get a fire going. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of that, but we're going to start with the fire roll. Now, I was introduced to the fire roll by Aldo Kane. I was doing an episode of First Man Out. in Borneo in the mangrove swamps, and he turned up, and I was like, mate, can you do fire by friction? Because he's military, he's got expedition skills, he's one of the fittest men I know, but I hadn't seen any of his survival techniques, and he just literally whipped out some cotton wool, a bit of ash, and a plank, and he showed me something called the fire roll. Now, I've since Googled it on YouTube, and that's how I learned it, but I've never done it. So this is gonna be the first time I do it, and I'm gonna teach you whilst doing it for the first time. But I've got a little sneaky feeling it is such a nice, easy one to do that everyone is gonna be able to take part in. So fingers crossed, you've now got your cotton wool, you've got your wood ash, you've got your plank of wood. Obviously, if you're doing this indoors, make sure you've got a parent supervising you, and do not make it into fire. If you're in the kitchen and you're in a safe environment and there's no soft furnishings, you can safely make this into an ember and then just put it straight in the sink, okay? That is safe. But if you're gonna actually make a fire, you need to do this outdoors. I'm teaching inside because it's a live broadcast and it's raining outside and all of the nightmare of sound and everything outside. So, once you have your little cotton wool ball, I'm going to show this to the Instagram guys. You can see that it's actually a rolled ball, a bit like if you're rolling a snowball. And you can untuck the end like that and you can unfurl it. And for the guys on YouTube, you can unfurl this. So it's just rolled up into a cylinder. So we want to unfold it. And you get quite a nice long bit of cotton wool. And we only need half of that. So very little. So I'm going to break that in half, put half to one side, and then pop that down on the table. Then, if you've done that, has everyone done that? So you've got your cotton wool, you've found the end, you've unfolded it, it's in a nice straight line. Are you having any dramas? Everyone having any dramas? Let's have a look. Somebody showing a bit of Aldo Kane love, nice one. Ben from Stafford is saying hello. Is anyone having any dramas with this? If you are, write in, comment on the YouTube channel ideally, because I can't really switch between Instagram and YouTube too much because it will get a bit confusing. You need a third to a half of teaspoon of wood ash. Now, we have a fire in the house, so this is a substance which is easily accessible. If you don't, you might have to have a fire outdoors in order to get the wood ash in order to do this. So you might have to light it with a lighter or something like that in order to get a lot of these skills that you learn. You can't actually just go into the woods and make the kits and get a fire going initially. It takes multiple days sometimes to build up the right resources in order to get a fire going. On Olarua, which was the island I was stranded on for 60 days, it took 13 days for me to get a fire going. And I was doing my nut, I was shivering cold in the cave, I was naked, so I just felt like a prat, but importantly, from a morale perspective, I felt very desperate, and I think fire for me is the biggest key between just surviving outdoors and thriving. It's the unique indicator that you've actually mastered your environment. No animal in the world can make fire, but if you can, then you are at an advantage over all of the animals in the animal kingdom, because then you can obviously heat yourself, you can cook food, you can boil water, all of these amazing things. Okay, so you're putting your third of a teaspoon, say, of ash on about a third of the rolled out cotton wool. And then, hopefully you can see this, I am literally just going to roll it super tight. If ash falls out onto the table, I might put a little bit too much ash in this. If ash falls out onto the table, not a drama. You actually need a bit of friction on the table, and then you're going to roll this as tight as humanly possible. So imagine you're rolling up your roll mat and you just want to make it so efficiently tight and look really smart on the side of your rucksack. You're doing exactly the same thing, or you're rolling up your thermarest or better equivalent of it. Because I don't really like thermarest, that's why I said that. Until you've rolled the whole thing up. So you've got ash and cotton wool there. Then you want to give a couple more rolls to tighten it up. And if you get, as I said, if you've got ash on the table, that's not a drama at all. I might even put a bit more ash on the table just to make sure it doesn't slip. If it slips, what you'll end up doing is squashing the bit of cotton wool will just get squashed and will just be pushed backwards and forwards, and that's not what we want. We want it to roll. Okay. So I'm just going to tighten this up. Now, as I said, there is a first time for everything. I'm not going to blow this one into flames because the experience from last lesson is it will just make the whole room completely and utterly smoky, and so obviously you can't see me, which is a bit of a nightmare. So we're going to go to ember, but ember is the important bit. Ember you then transfer normally into a tinder bundle, blow it softly, and it will turn into flames. But the ember's the tricky bit. So let's have a go at this. So we're then going to just go backwards and forwards, apparently about 10 times, in order to get this to smoke and be an ember. Let's have a go. Okay, nothing yet. Let's have a go. A bit more. Okay, and it is smoking. And there is an ember. Now, if you think about, just show the Instagrammers, you got an ember there, which means if you put that in a tinder bundle, you could light a fire. Think about how simple that technique is. I've never done that before. Round of applause for me, thank you very much. But that's how simple it is, guys. Bit of cotton wool. Can you see that on YouTube? Bit of cotton wool smouldering away. And that's a big ember actually, that's a massive ember. So if you put that into the middle of a tinder bundle, you have got fire. Ha ha ha, that's brilliant. Right, into the sink, so that we don't burn the house down. What a simple technique. Now, for those of you who've tried bow drill and hand drill and know how long it takes to practice to get an ember, how about that for a method? Now, I'm using a plank of wood and a very stable table. In the wild, if you're using a split log and the flat surface, once you split a log down the middle, then clearly that is going to add an element of more difficulty because it's not going to be quite as uniform as this. But that's the theory, and that's the one that I think is the most achievable immediately, and that's the first time I've ever done it, and it worked. So that is an amazing method. Shall we take some comments, see how people are doing? Well done, Ed. Never seen that technique before. I hadn't before Aldo brought it out to Borneo. I'd never even seen it. I didn't even know it existed. I think it might just be a YouTube phenomenon. Clearly, if you've not got cotton wool in the wild, you would just try and find something, maybe cattail I was thinking, something which is similar to the properties of cotton. Obviously, if you're on a cotton farm, you could use cotton. But yeah, fine, dry fibres, and obviously you've just got to simulate that. So that is a really nice, easy method. Has anyone had a try? Has anyone succeeded at this? So it says, oh yes, first try. That's from Seb, but I don't know whether you're talking about me or yourself. What in the wild could you substitute cotton wool for? As I said, I've not done this before, and I actually only Googled it this morning. But you know, how easy is that as a method of lighting fire if you've not got matches or a lighter? So I think you'd look to simulate this. From the top of my head, I'm thinking cattail, but also I'm imagining you could get fine birch bark. You might be able to, fine barks, possibly birch. Might be a little bit too resinous. Obviously, this doesn't have any resin in it. Birch bark might actually have too much resin. But yeah, fine materials, maybe very fine. Birds' nests. Experiment, I think, is the way forward. But if you want to do it and get it easily, or if you've got kids and they want to get it easily, start off with that method with just cotton wool ball and a bit of ash and a flat plank, a very stable table, and ace. And fingers crossed you'll have as much luck as I have. Right, okay, so dude, it worked. That's from Mr. Lilac. Used a chopping board instead of a plank. Great idea. If you've not got a plank, use a chopping board, and it worked. That's amazing. I wonder if charcloth would work. I wonder as well. It might not be strong enough. That was from Seb. Hi Jess, Ezzy, and Matty from Ben. Tried, but the cotton only had cotton pads. Got hot but fell apart. Right, so I think the trick there, if it's starting to fall apart, is it's just the tightness of the roll and being meticulous about putting the ash on 1/3 of it and then doing it up super tight, giving it a couple of rolls with your hand to tighten that roll up, and then maybe giving it another roll just in one direction. And actually, this is a point that I didn't mention. If you've rolled it up, let's just roll this up and pretend it's got ash in it. If you've rolled this up in one direction, you have to roll it the same way. If you then spin it round, that's going to undo and get looser. So it is quite important that it's rolled in the same direction that you've rolled it up. That's when you're preparing it. Obviously, when you're doing it, you're just going back and forth. So good. I hope you enjoyed that. That was cool. What are we now? 10:15. On Wednesday, I did a little demonstration into the hand drill. Now, I just want to break this down a little bit because, again, there's a lot of bushcrafters who can do the bow drill, and I just want to talk through the hand drill because it took me a while to master this. It really did. But there's a few little tips and techniques that I want to explain. I'll go over the basics again that I did on Wednesday, just in case you weren't tuning in. You need a drill and a half board, okay? The drill I'm using, and if you're watching from the UK, Elder is probably the best drill. You want shoots that are last season's, so they're relatively fresh. It grows incredibly straight, and you want them thinner than your finger, really, about pencil thickness, really. And the nice thing about Elder is it's got a hard wall around the outside, but it's got a pithy core, and that means there's not too much friction on the bottom. If you use a solid piece of wood, anything, because the whole of the bottom is solid material, it's actually harder to work between your hands. So something with a hollow pithy core like Elder is perfect, and then you just chop it to the right length, take the bark off. If it's not quite straight, you can straighten that in the fire just by heating it up. When you heat it up, you then add a little bit of pliability, so you put it into the right shape, and then when it cools, it will stay in that shape, which is a nice trick if your drill isn't perfectly straight. The half board is the bit that goes on the floor. This will spin in, the drill will spin in the half board. For those of you who watched the bow drill demonstration last Friday, I went into how you make this, but essentially, once you've got your clematis, and this is clematis or clematis in the UK, you split it down the middle, so you've got a flat side, which goes to make it nice and stable. You need to seat your drill, okay? So I take a nice sharp bushcraft knife, ideally, and you want to make a little divot in the top. And the reason you're making a little divot in the top is because if you were to just drill straight on top of a convex surface like that, then it's just going to shoot off, isn't it? So I need to make a little divot, and so I'm going to hold. You normally hold a bushcraft knife out, punch grip like that, like that. I'm going to swivel it round in my palm so that it's facing away from me. I'm going to keep the piece of wood on the floor or on the table, and I'm just going to turn it. And you can see this way, it's way away from my arteries. It's a nice controlled position. I'm not doing it up in my hand because clearly that's more dangerous. And I'm making a nice indentation which the drill is going to sit in. And just patiently keep going round. Clematis is pretty crumbly, I think it's fair to say, when you're carving this, so it won't look beautiful like a wooden spoon that you carve out of something stronger. But you don't need it to look beautiful. You just need it to stop the drill flying off. Put your knife back in its sheath, put it somewhere safe, and then now this is a cheat, but it's for learning. What I do, so you're only concentrating on one thing at a time, is I actually duct tape the half board to a table. Now this reduces the amount of things that can go wrong. Now it's quite a difficult and uncomfortable position initially to do a bow drill if you're not very flexible. So you're down on the floor, you're all cramped, you're in a difficult position. But standing by a table, I find is very easy. And so learning the hand techniques and also getting enough practice, I would often have one of these strapped to the table and just leave it there. So that every time you come into the room, you crank out another ember and you'll get better and better, or you practice and practice until eventually you get an ember. So this is how I'm going to teach it. What I have to do first is to seat the drill. So I've made my little notch. I need to then char that in by drilling in one space, and then we have to make the ember notch, but I'm going to start by doing that. If you've got greasy hands, you need to wash them. I washed them just before the lesson, so they should be all right. Wash them with soap, cold water, dry them off, and you might have, then you'll have less oils on your hands. You then want to spit on your hands till they're nice and tacky, and then you're going to drill. Now, conventionally, if you were a tribal person getting a bow drill started, you would do a normal technique where you're doing your hands backwards and forwards, using as much as your hand as possible, putting downwards pressure, and you'll work your way down the drill like that. You then quickly put your hand to the top of the drill and do it again. And the less time between your strokes, the better. Okay, so you're just going to go. And now this is something that requires muscle memory. It requires certain muscles to be strong. So you won't get this smooth initially, but watch YouTube videos, do lots of practice, strap it to your kitchen table, as long as you've got a smoke alarm in the kitchen, and then eventually you will get better. Now, I am going to undo this just to show you the notch that I've just burnt in. If you're on Instagram, you can see that's nice and dark now. If you're on YouTube, see that's nice and dark. It's the one furthest away from my hand. But what I've not got is the ember notch. Now, the ember notch is the little bit where the powder builds up in. And in order to carve that, you need it to be 1/8 of a circle. Coincidentally, if you've got a bushcraft knife, 1/8 of a circle is almost exactly the dimensions of the end of your bushcraft knife. So if you can see that, that's about 1/8 of a circle. And if you're on YouTube, you see that? The knife is just sitting in the end there, and that is 1/8 of a circle. That's a really handy tip. You can obviously divide the whole thing up into quarters and then eighths, and then you'll need to split the two bottom eighths because they'll both be offset and you want the middle eighth. So you'll have to actually split it into 16ths and add the two bottom 16ths. Or if that's too complicated, just get the end of your bushcraft knife and take 1/8 of a circle. 1/8 of a circle seems to be the right amount to allow the ash to fall in, but also keep it contained enough that it will build up. So I'm not going to carve that ember notch in now because we literally just don't have that much time, but I am going to use one of the pre-existing ember notches and just do a little demonstration again to just show us getting an ember. And what I also did, another little hack when I was learning this, is duct taped a set of weighing scales, normal weighing scales, to the table, and then duct taped the hearth board to the weighing scales, and that meant that I knew exactly how much downwards pressure I'd get one day and how long I could sustain it. So say I could do 2 stone of downward pressure or 30 kilograms of downward pressure for 10 seconds, then the next day I'd want to have more downward pressure for more time, and that's a nice way of incrementally building up your strength in your hands, and it's a really nice way of monitoring your progress. I think when you're not getting an ember, it can seem a little bit disheartening because you're just like, well, I've tried this and I can't do it. The next day I've tried this and I can't do it. But if you go, oh, I know that yesterday I was 3 kilograms of downward pressure, now I'm 4 kilograms, I'm getting better. My hands are getting stronger, and that all is, for me, that worked as a really nice tip. So again, the other method, which works really well if you've got a less long stick, which I'm going to demonstrate now, is called the floating hand technique. And what we do here is, instead of just going backwards and forwards with our hands straight, we have to shape them like a V shape. So they go backwards and forwards, and then you swap them. So they go backwards and forwards, and then you swap the V. And it's a very tricky thing to explain. It's a very tricky thing to do as well. So you forward, swap, back, swap, forward. And if you look, I'm almost working my way up the drill by adding that little tilt technique. Study it on YouTube. If you want the best hand drill instructor in the UK, he's called Dale Collett. I'm sure he'll thank me for putting his name out there because he taught me and he is extraordinary. So you could book him and he'll teach you if he's not teaching. So I'll just do this little demonstration. So I'm going to use the floating technique, and you know, first two things backwards and forwards, and we've already got smoke there. And I think the key is to then relax. You know, you want to keep smoking going. You want to build up the powder in that ember notch. If you're not creating powder, you're probably not putting enough downwards pressure into it, which could be that your arms aren't strong enough, you're not pushing in enough, or that you've set the thing up wrong. But keep experimenting, and then eventually when you think you're close, you want to put a little bit more downward pressure on. And for the sake of this, I'm just going to go down, do a couple of runs down. Which again, if you're new to the hand drill, is a really useful technique, because you can do all you can with the floating, and then it's almost there. Bash out a couple of things, and then you have an ember. And the thing that signals you've got an ember is this wisp of smoke that's coming up. You transfer that into your tinder bundle. See that wisp of smoke? Hopefully you can. Transfer that into your tinder bundle, and you're away. And again, not going to do that this time because I'll fill the room with smoke and you won't be able to see me. So let's put that in the sink nice and safely. Yet again, just to say that I am doing these inside because it's raining outside and because I'm filming and I'm doing it all live. But do not do it inside unless you're absolutely positive you've got a safe space, you can't possibly set fire to anything, there's no fire risk at all, and obviously make sure you've got adult supervision who have assessed the whole situation. I would say if you've got an outdoor space and it's raining, that's dry underneath a log shed, something like that, or indeed underneath a tarpaulin in the garden, that would be a lot safer. Okay, Paru Ram said, what can you replace the ash with in the fire roll? I don't think you can replace the ash with anything. I think you need wood ash. I think that's one of the key things that you need. But correct me if you think I'm wrong on that one. Rob Warren says, woohoo, we have fire. Nice job, Ed. Nice one, guys. How long will you continue to shoot live? These lessons are between 30 minutes and 40 minutes. And we're currently on 28 minutes. So we've only got a couple of minutes left. I want to see if anyone has any questions on the bow drill. We made a bow drill last Friday and we did a demonstration and we got a fire going. But I then said, look, if you want to go away and make your kit and then come back and tell me that if you've had any problems, then do. So please, if you've got any of those questions about hand drill, about bow drill, or about the fire roll, then fire them in now and I will try and answer them. Any chance of a shout out for Josh's 11th birthday on Monday? Happy birthday, Josh. 11, mate. That's a big age. Samir says, what about oak wood? I wouldn't use oak for this, mate. I think you're talking about the hand drill. No, I think that would be hard. You'd have to have such a good technique to be able to get the powder. It's just too hard. I think you'll end up polishing the two bits of wood and you'll spend a lot of energy doing that as well. Birch, okay, again, all of these woods are possible. I mean, you can virtually use any wood to make fire by friction if you've got a good enough technique or if you've got enough time. However, if you're learning, make things simple, go for clematis. Obviously in gardens you can find this a lot, and then also go for elder as well. I think those are really nice. I've used burdock in the past as the drill, but I've seen a lot of people struggle on solid woods, and ideally you're looking for something with a hard wall around it and a hollow or pithy core. Love those jars in your kitchen. Thank you very much. RJ Bradbury said, awesome stuff. I used to be at Stonygate with you, did you? What's your first name? Mason says, hi, can you have a shout out? Hi Mason, how you doing, mate? Willow for the hand drill. Yes, you can use willow. Yeah, you can. But again, I'm just a bit like the fire roll with the cotton wool and the plank of wood. I'm trying to break these seemingly impossible things down to the easiest components. And if you want to make your life easier, then rather than going, well, can we just replace it with something else? Do just follow the sort of idiot's guide. I think personally, Elder and Clematis is the easiest way to learn, especially if you're teaching kids, and it is achievable. The guys from Camp Wilderness and the Bushcraft Company, Chris, they teach it to kids, and often kids can get an ember within like half an hour session, just using a hand drill. So it is definitely achievable. Think you need to show us your fluffers dogs. So get the dogs in. They're they are whining a bit. Come on in. In you come, Maggie. Winston. Come here. Come here. Hello. Right, they're a bit huge. This is Maggie and Winston. They're Newfoundlands. She's about 55 kilograms. He's nearly 70, I think. They just need a little bit of love. Beautiful dogs, though. Beautiful dogs. Right, out you go. Go on, out, Maggie. Go on. Okay, so rounding up now, because we're now 31 minutes. Hopefully you found that useful. If there are any tips for the floating hand drill. Okay, so you've got to either employ someone to teach you this, or you've got to. I haven't actually seen a YouTube video that teaches this to the level that Dale Collett was able to teach me. The more techniques, I would say, so that you're not worried about your body position. Do the thing where you're duct taping the half board to the thing. The hand technique is, so like imagine you were. Let's do this as close as possible. Imagine you were going backwards and forwards just straight like that. You're just tipping. You're tipping, so you're creating a V. Now you go forward, and then you tip the other way, and then you come back, and then you tip the other way, and you come forward, then you tip the other way, and then you come back. And you can see how my hands actually worked up the stick there. And that's what you're trying to do. You're pushing down whilst just doing little shimmies up the stick, and you're doing it so fast that you end up floating in one place. It's an incredibly useful technique. Again, I think it's an internet sensation thing. It wouldn't have been a method that indigenous tribes would have used years and years ago. However, if you've got a tiny little stick, you can still do it. And I think Dale holds the world record for who can light a fire with the smallest drill, and I think it's literally about 2 inches long. He literally does it just with the base of his hands, and probably after he's dunked it in a bucket of water or something, because he's a bit of a geek like that. Thanks Ed from Sarah and Edith, really good show. Oh my god, they're amazing. Robert Ray Bradbury, long time ago. Hello mate, nice to hear from you. Nice dogs from the Patsons, cute dog. New episodes of Marooned coming out. We kind of have moved on from Marooned. I pine to do a bit of a sort of solo survival again, actually, but the races have replaced them. So First Man Out is not only all of the stuff you need to do to survive like Marooned was, but it's also under time pressure. It's also covering a long distance. It's a lot harder, actually, and obviously your reputation's on the line, so you could lose every single episode. So that has kind of usurped the series that was called Marooned, but hopefully you're enjoying First Man Out as much as you enjoyed Marooned. I really, Nor Doof said, I really enjoy these lessons better than my school lessons. Thank you, Nor. Jenny saying, my daughter Emma has been learning about you at school. Hi Emma, how you doing? Apologies, you're having to learn about me. That sounds a rubbish subject to learn about. Can you replace ash with rust? I'm gonna say I doubt it, but I'm not gonna say no because I don't know the answer to that one. Loving the sessions from Phil, Charlie Corney. Okay, this is a bow drill question. My rope string slipped when using it. What's the best rope? I would use paracord, or shoelaces are actually really good. If you use a kind of more plasticky string, then that's going to break. The one that I was doing the demonstration with actually used cordage made out of leather, made out of hide, and that's been working for years. That's probably the strongest natural materials, I would say, is using leather, much stronger than using nettles or anything like that. But paracord is definitely the easiest. So if you're still slipping with paracord, it's because it's not tight enough. Okay, so just tighten it up. Make sure that one end is easily removable in a round turn 2/2 hitches, so that you can then tighten it up and make sure it's gripping nicely. Or if it's not gripping, you can just pinch it. You can pinch a bit of the string into the bow and actually tighten it like that. And you can use these hands, this hand which is bowing, to just increase or decrease the tension a little bit. Well, you probably can't decrease it, but you can increase it. You can with charcoal, that's what Aldo used. Okay, yeah, so charcoal would be a good replacement for ash, and that's what Aldo used in my episode. Good. Like that. Always you make it without gloves, I can't believe it. I would never use gloves for making fire by friction, but I suppose you could for not burning your hands. This is my kryptonite. I spent this is from Tom Allen, whole of last lockdown failing miserably to get an ember. I don't know which that one was, whether that was fire roll or hand drill or bow drill, probably hand drill I would have thought. It's eminently doable, just keep practicing. And as I said, the muscles in your hands aren't accustomed to do that, and you've got to kind of not just use brute force, you've got to almost be relaxed, because you can end up tensing every muscle in your body and you just tire yourself out. Breathe through it, keep going backwards and forward, breathe through it, try and just constantly create smoke and don't go for the ember. So you're thinking about the process rather than the outcome, and eventually you'll build up enough powder that just a few more hard strokes and you'll get an ember. So relaxing is actually part of it, it's not just brute strength. I'm going to leave it there because we are now verging on 40 minutes, but thank you very much for tuning in. This was 11, Forest Skills number 11. Hopefully you're enjoying them. If you are, and you've got ideas that you want to learn, things that from outdoors that you want to know about, whether that be natural navigation, whether that be more cooking techniques, whether that be different types of dens or shelters, then please bang them in the comments or message me on Instagram, and fingers crossed we can facilitate that and we can teach them. So if these are useful, then please do let us know, because then we know what we will teach next time. So on Monday at 10 o'clock, Stephen is up next, and I believe he's doing some sort of cooking, and he is a wonderful chef, so tune into that if you fancy eating something nice for brunch on Monday. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a lovely weekend, everyone, and that is bye from me. Transition that, and goodbye to everyone on Instagram.